Thank you for tuning in. You are listening to Shop Talk Radio, and I am your host, Styles by Joni. And today I have my co-host here with me, Miss Summer.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Summer, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. We're gonna discuss a couple things today. One of those things are how to cope, or how to cut people out of your life, or how to, remove toxic behaviors.
Right.
Yeah, and I thought about that. That it sometimes it'll take years to do that. You know what I mean? Like, because you want that person around, or it could be family, it could be a job, right. It could be at any, and
any negative source, right?
Any negative source, and sometimes it could take years to do that. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think, I think it's hard because people don't think of who they can cut off. Like sometimes they'll think, oh no, they're family, I love them, and it's like, and obviously we're not going to say that it's you can just go around cutting everyone off, because it's not healthy. You should be able to work through some things, but some things sometimes situations sometimes are just so toxic where, let's say you have to take a break, and at times you just have to completely cut off all contact with people, and they just might not be good for your life. It might be like friendships you have, right? And like you said, like it might just be a job. It might be time to move on, and it's hard because we get attached. We get so attached to people and situations,
and love.
Just
loving the person who you are around. It could be family, anything.
Right.
And once you love that person so much, and you expect what you expect, sometimes it's just not easy,
Right. And also I think the idea of love is, especially like with me, loyalty is number one. Like loyalty to me is so important. So sometimes you have to change your definition or your idea of love, because you might be in a situation that's not good for you, and you might just be, I love this person, I want to continue loving them, but you have to really start thinking, like, is this good for me? And I'm honestly, with more than one person, I'm still in that situation. I'm still figuring it out. And it's hard. It's difficult.
Yeah, it is. From experience, that's why I thought about what you had brought up. And I thought about that. I had to actually do that. You know what I mean? And it took years, a long time. But at the same time, you get beat up. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Not physically, but you're
mentally, emotionally.
Yeah, mentally, it's like, how much can you take? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. So, what I would say to anyone that's trying to, cope with something like this, or which way to go about it without it being toxic. You know what I mean? Sometimes you can remove yourself from a situation and it ends up toxic.
Right. And that's the scary part, because even let's say there's domestic abuse among people. So with the most dangerous time for a woman is when she's leaving. So, that's something to really keep in mind too. And there's different resources that help women like that. But I have a question for too. I was wondering, for you, what type of behaviors do you think make you think, okay, this might be a situation where I actually have to not just, check this person, or not just have a conversation with this person, but I have to cut them off? Like what type of behaviors have you noticed that made you think that?
Oh, for one, the way a person treat me. You know what I mean? The way a person treat you.
Right.
And it's every time that you see the person, it's never good. Those behaviors is never good. It's always going to end up bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You gotta listen to your gut. Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes, like, when is enough?
Yeah.
It's not the person's fault. It's not your fault for other people's behavior. You know what I mean?
Right.
So people have to not maybe feel guilty for someone else's. Yeah. So
guilt is a huge reason that people that you wait, because you might think, okay, maybe this person needs me, or maybe that they would obviously not like it if you left their life, but the thing is, if they're not valuing you, then it's almost like they're making that choice.
Right, because guess what? Once you do that and you walk away, you'll see that they actually really never cared, because they walk away so easily that, hey, you know, so.
And the weird thing I noticed, because I had asked you about behaviors, but the weird thing, one of the things about myself I noticed is that it's not even necessarily the behaviors that the person is doing, but when I start noticing that they don't seem to care. Like it's really about, there's this thing that's really like triggers me. It's like, oh, you don't care. Like, cause that's what really makes me like, okay. Cause I'm like, the behaviors may be off, and the behaviors may, and that's something to really key in and pay attention to. But for some reason, for me, it's like, oh, you made a mistake. Okay, we make mistakes. You make the same mistake over and over and over. It gets frustrating, but that love is what kind of keeps you there. Then when you realize, oh, you don't care, and that's a whole nother story.
That's a whole other thing. Yeah, that's what you'll find, that this person really don't care. You know, because if you're trying and you continuously trying and trying to love and trying to get that love and trying to work it out, and you're always the villain, you know, in the situation, how is that? When that person is making you feel a type of way, you know what I mean? Exactly.
And sometimes if you're the one who feels that much guilt, you should look into, they might be trying to manipulate you and trying to gaslight you, and trying to make you take all of that guilt, when really they should be the ones who are changing their behavior or their attitude towards you.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's really hard to do. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's really hard to do. You know,
because we have a tendency, especially when you're a giving and you're a loving person, or you're an empath, it's like you love so much, but it's almost like you have to love yourself more. And that's actually difficult for a lot of people, because they don't realize it, but they're choosing that person over themselves every single day. And they've made a habit of choosing people over themselves.
Yeah. And you gotta walk away from your own sanity.
Exactly.
Your own sanity. You know what I mean? You just got to walk away from it and say, you know what? That's it. I can't do it no more. You know what I mean? As much as it hurt you, it probably hurt you the most.
Way more than that person.
Yeah, than that person. They're going to walk away and like, okay, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to anybody listening that who's going through something like this, you know, just think it through, and in a way that it's not going to end up too bad, you know, or toxic for you, you know.
Sometimes you just have to fall back to and see if that might show them something to kind of like light a fire for them to change some behavior, or
over time. Exactly.
Over time, and other times it's like when you go because sometimes you have to just go no contact. That whole thing is a process. It's not just a one and done. It's actually a process, because then you're grieving the end of the relationship.
Right.
Even if you were the one to end it, you're still going to grieve the end of that relationship.
Yeah, it is a process. Like I said earlier, it's not going to happen overnight.
Definitely not.
Yeah, it took years for me. You know. It'll take years, but then again, you know, in relationships, everybody is different. But in relationships, then family, you know, in relationships, some people will make a decision to say, you know what, I'm out. Right. And it's harder for some people to do that. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And you also want to make sure you're not forming some sort of codependent attachment on them. Because it's great to love someone. It's great to be attached and to have an attachment that's normal, but then to have an attachment that goes beyond the what's beneficial and beyond what's healthy, where you feel like you need that person in your life to function or to feel better. Right. Then that's a problem too. And that's something to definitely watch out.
And then that's when you probably have to step back. If you're feeling like that, and you just need that type of love, or you need that attention, then it's time to fall back a little bit and reflect on yourself, you know?
Right. You got to do work within yourself if that's the case. And the thing is, that person might still not be good for you, but realistically, you might not be able to cut them off just one and done.
Right.
You know, and you'll need a support system too. You need people around you who are going to help you to keep it, to cut it off. Because sometimes you might have people who are saying, they might not know the situation. So they might say, no, I think you should work it out. When meanwhile, you might be being abused, or you might have something that's going
Right. They don't know the whole story.
They don't know the whole story. So, it's nice to have at least one person who you can really tell.
Talk to.
Really, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Not the one who's gonna say, "Leave him, girl. Get out of here," or "Don't talk to that person no more." Just
two extremes are never good.
Yeah.
Person
Two
who's
extremes
saying,
are never
just
good.
Just go. And then the other person who's saying, stay. You gotta, you gotta have a balance. They gotta have a balance. Really balanced, right? And they have to really know you and know that situation too.
Right. And believe that you can trust in that person, and they're giving you some solid, advice. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like solid, true advice.
Exactly.
So you don't.
That's hard to come by now. It seems like, because people will give advice, but they really it's out of habit.
Right. Okay. They're following one and they're following the next, and they're gonna tell the next person the same thing. So.
Exactly.
So
how? This is not specific. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I'm saying if the advice is not specific to you, because you said you have one person just saying it over and over, that's not going to help you either.
Right. So how is it? Everybody's going back to school, and and people still dealing with the COVID, and they have to wear their mask in school. It's kind of hard with the anxiety. Now people were dealing with anxiety not being in school. You know what I mean? And now that they're back in school, what's going on with that as far as like college? Are you back in school?
Well, for me, I know a lot of people who are they're doing everything online. So I know people who are going to college. Most of them are going to grad school, but it's the same with the undergrad, where they're forced to go online. But at the same time, you have schools like for example, Georgia State. They're about to start going back in person. Everything's going to be back in person. So they're going to start having all the meetings, the club meetings they usually have, and have all the classes.
Everything is back home.
Right. And so they've already done that with, elementary school, middle school, high school.
High school, yeah.
Right. But I think they're offering a lot more online programs and options for people who are trying to do grad school, especially because of COVID. But I think too, it seems like everything's just shifting, which I find a little nerve-wracking, because I was planning on applying to a few different programs, and one of the programs has it's like a 2 weekends, because it's like for full-time workers, and you go 2 weekends, you go in person, everything, and it's also you get to see people, and I like that. I prefer that over online, but at the same time, it's kind of confusing, because it seems like a lot can change.
Right.
Yeah. And then you have
that's what's happening.
Study abroad. Study abroad. I wanted to do study abroad so bad for years, and then that's just a whole other ball game.
Yeah, you got to be careful with that. Yeah.
Right. It's and I don't really see it. I don't see a lot of schools or a lot of universities gonna trying to do that as much, but you still have people going abroad just to go to school in general. Everything's a little twisted now.
I know someone that went back to school, and she's very happy. She's very happy. But then again, the rules change. There's a lot of different rules, different things they have to put in place. So to go from the mind, from mental, to go from online school to going in school, from being depressed to being happy. How do you think that shift will work? How do you think that? I think even people who are people, like even people who love meeting new people, extroverts. I love meeting new people, even though I'm an introvert. And it's the idea of going to school online kind of depresses me, not only because I feel like I'm not going to be able to connect with people as well, but because I want to be able to make in-person real connections and kind of look at people in the eye and kind of, talk about my goals, and even just career-wise. It's like humans need that.
Exactly. You want to be able to really that. Exactly. And in a lot of different situations where you might stumble across something, but online you have a set group of people, and then you have a set group of things, and you might be able to explore a little bit of what's going on online and kind of do it that way, but it's very different. There's
it is very different.
Very different. And
it's closed off.
Yeah, I think the transition is going to be it's going to be rough at first, but I'm really optimistic, because I think that students are going to enjoy going back. I feel like Yeah, and I feel like for students who prefer online, I feel like they're also going to be able to have that option because there's always been online classes, you know?
Right.
And so, yeah, I feel like they're going to be able to get the best of both worlds at the same time. And I do think, you know, especially like you said, being depressed and just being kind of down and being isolated is difficult. But if they take it slow and they start with just maybe this class, maybe
working with
one
it
or two, right?
That's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say with the anxiety and the depression and the being in the house, and now you're going around people, then you're going to just explode. Now you're going to explode and just go crazy because you see people, but you got to, you know, go slowly. You know what I'm saying? Like, take your time. Don't do too much because it's kind of different. You know? Right.
And remember your counselors and your therapists at your university. This is what you're paying for. You're paying tuition and stuff. Yes, exactly. This is free. I mean, it's not, you know, sessions usually they can range from like $100, $200. So when you have it free, well, it's not technically free because you're paying tuition. Definitely got to utilize that.
Use them. Even in elementary, even in middle school. That's what the counselors are there for. If you're having any kind of issues or you're feeling a certain type of way or somebody is bothering you or you have any kind of concerns, go to your counselors, people. Go to your counselors. Absolutely. Well, Summer, is there anything else you want to touch bases on or you want to share with the young people?
Yeah. I mean, I would just say,
you disappeared, babe. You disappeared. Summer. There you go.
I got disconnected, but yeah, I was just gonna say, to wrap up, you know, kind of keep a meter, keep a kind of track of how you feel. Journal, especially about the people in your life and the people who you know, take a sort of, I don't know how to explain it, but it's almost like you have not necessarily like you're giving them grades like A, B, C, D, but it's like, how do these people make me feel? Do I want to carry them into next year, next month, you know, and next season?
And then also, you have that right. You have that right. You feel guilty.
Exactly, because you are the main character in your story. And I think a lot of people do know that, maybe too much, but then there are people who really are just playing these roles and being there for other people when they're not thinking about themselves. You're not thinking about yourself, and it's okay to think about yourself. It's okay.
That's right.
Yeah. And then use your counselors for college students.
Yes, use your and middle school. Yes. Use your counselors. That's what they're there for. That's what they have the job for. They're sitting there waiting on you to walk in their office. So, so guys, thank you for tuning in to Shop Talk Radio 2020. And you know you can find me on all my platforms, Instagram and YouTube. And remember, iHeartRadio is the place to be. Just go ahead and download that app and just look for the logo WDRB. All right. And guys, thank you for being here, Summer. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Again,
thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Again, until next time, guys, be blessed and definitely not stressed.